There's a dominant life form on this planet, and it isn't us. We may dwarf individual bugs, but collectively they have a larger impact on our lives than we can possibly imagine. They were here 400 million years before us. We invaded their territory. From the bug's perspective, we're just another habitat ready to be colonized. They're infesting all our lives, watching, waiting for a chance to invade.
And I was in tears because I knew my house was being eaten and there was really nothing I could do about it. Because once these things get in, they're almost impossible to get rid of.
Health officials say they will continue spraying across the city.
I'm telling you, at night, I can hear them. I can hear them, and it's...
If you thought bugs were just a nuisance to be tolerated in our world, think again, because it's you who's living in a bug world.
But it seems like about 500 of them climb up your leg and then all of a sudden say, sting.
For the last 400 million years, it hasn't been the most powerful or glamorous animals, the dinosaurs or the mammals, that have ruled this earth. It's been the bugs. From the start, the creeping, crawling masses have dominated the earth by sheer numbers. Then, humans appeared. We cleared the wilderness under the impression that the world could be sanitized and controlled, and that we could create a place safe from the insect hordes. But we are not safe. The bugs never went away. Today, alien life forms are taking over whole cities, and killers are crossing continents unchecked. When insects move in on our world, it seems there is little we can do to stop them. Insects aren't responding to human methods of warfare at all. We simply don't know enough about them to win. But as we try to understand them better, we are discovering ways to harness some of their strange powers for our own purposes. We are overwhelmed by these scuttling creatures. They cannot be extracted from our lives. Even the stringent regulations of the American Food and Drug Administration are forced to accept some unavoidable insect ingredients. Up to 2 maggots in every can of tomatoes. The choice of 30 fly eggs or 1 maggot per 100 grams of tomato paste. 60 aphids, mites and thrips per 100 grams of broccoli. 225 insect fragments and no more per serving of macaroni. 20 maggots of any size, whole or sliced, per can of mushrooms. A total, on your plate, of 270 insects, whole or in pieces, and 23 maggots. In the war on insects, science has been left with the impossible task of keeping track of the enemy. Over 1 million species of insect have been collected so far, but this could be just the tip of the insect iceberg. New species are turning up every day. It seems endless. Just keeping track of a few of the bad guys is about as much as we can manage. Some of the worst offenders held captive in laboratories around the world include the Japanese beetle. Attacks 25 million acres of turf annually. The fall armyworm causes 50% yield loss in infested crops. The boll weevil, the target of 1/3 of all US pesticides. The corn earworm causes $500 million in damage a year. And the most infamous of them all, the locust, responsible for some of the worst famines in human history.
Our lesson this morning is taken from the Old Testament, the prophet Joel. What the cutting locust left, the swarming locust has eaten. And what the swarming locust left, the hopping locust has eaten. What is it, Joan?
Teacher, what is a locust?
Locust is the name ancient writers gave to the grasshopper. For a nation has come up against my land, powerful and without number. The fields are laid waste, the ground mourns, because the grain is destroyed.
Locusts still emerge in biblical proportions. In the Australian outback, 800 miles from Sydney, there have been unusually heavy spring rains. This may lead to one of the biggest swarms in living memory. For now, the locust control experts can only wait for the enemy to show its face. But they need to be ready. If it happens, it will happen fast.
Righto, Bernie, we might head off to the southeast. The property rang up and said they got a big swarm down there, so we'll head down that way and check it out. Departing Broken Hill this time.
This is a search and destroy mission.
Yeah, the hoppers gave that a fair caning a few weeks ago. It's pretty bad condition, that crop on this northern end of it.
All hatching sites must be taken out. In just a few days, young hoppers will become winged, swarming locusts. A swarm may number 500 million individuals and cover 400 square miles. In just one day, they will eat enough to feed a city of 30,000 people. One of the latest strategies is to use a biological weapon, spraying them with a kind of locust foot rot, a fungus that eats them from the inside out, exploding in an eruption of spores that reinfect any surviving animal. This year, at least, the hordes have been controlled. But there are other swarms that seem unstoppable. Ant colonies are highly organized societies. It's their organization that makes them a sophisticated, coordinated invasion machine. One type of ant has been taking over America at a rate of up to 120 miles a year. Fire ants are more than just an annoyance. They can kill. Fire ants are a reminder to us all. None of us are safe from insect invasion.
Fire ants are everywhere. Here we are in Jackson, Mississippi. It's the state capital. There's the governor's mansion. This is a little urban park. I'm sure they treat for fire ants, but they're still here. In fact, here's a dead mound, looks like. I guess it's been treated. But I'm sure we can find a live man down here somewhere.
A single colony may number 250,000 ants, each with a sting like a red-hot needle. With no natural predators keeping them in check, their populations are exploding. There are now more ants here than in the whole of their native South America. Jerome Goddard is Mississippi's public health entomologist. He's been working on the front line of this invasion for years.
Fire ants were accidentally brought into the United States in the Mobile, Alabama area in the early 1900s and have subsequently spread to most of the southern one half of the United States. They characteristically make a mound. When disturbed, they come boiling out, stinging everything in sight. It seems like they all climb up your leg and sting all at one time. It may actually not be the case. They may just be stinging so rapidly that it seems that way, but it seems like about 500 of them climb up your leg and then all of a sudden say, sting.
At worst, this can cause a fatal allergic reaction. At best, every sting leaves an agonizing blister.
There was a man in Alabama who was in a bar and he was drunk, and he decided to try to walk home, and somewhere along the way he didn't make it, so he was going to go to sleep, so he used a fire ant mound as a pillow and received over 5,000 stings.
The fire ant control campaign has been described as the insect Vietnam, but this war is still going on. Over $2 billion a year are spent trying to control them. Nothing has worked. Why are these things so indestructible? To understand the power of the ant, we have to imagine a whole new concept of existence. Imagine a giant creature that can split itself into 1,000 little bodies. They all function as one, but individuals are expendable, so it's almost impossible to kill. This is not science fiction. This is the superorganism. Here is one leafcutter ant. And this is another. Although different individuals, they're both just parts of the whole leafcutter organism. The individuals are linked together by an invisible web of chemical messages called pheromones that allow the masses to act as one. To explain this concept, the different roles in the colony have been famously compared to the different parts of the human body. The queen is the reproductive organ. The workers are the supporting brain, heart, and gut. The exchange of liquid food among colony members is equivalent to the circulation of blood. One person is not the same as a single ant. It's the whole colony of ants that functions like one human body. This outlandish way of life has made the ant one of the most prolific creatures on Earth, and one of the most indestructible. Ants are only one example of the superorganism. There is another lurking in the bowels of this house. Its combined weight is around 60 pounds, but it's almost impossible to find. Dogs are trained to sniff it out. Pray this man doesn't find one in your home. It is a termite colony, and it eats houses from the inside out. Formosan termites hitchhiked to New Orleans in the 1940s on boats from Asia. For the termites, it was a feast of dead wood in every direction. For humans, this was the old war on a new front. The battle was brought into the living room. Ed Martin has been fighting termites house to house for 30 years.
It's absolute panic. If you have several hundred or several thousand termites inside of your house, you think that tomorrow your house is going to collapse. see this bulging up here? That's gone.
At first, there was sheetrock here with paneling on top, the same way it is around the rest of the room.
Okay.
And they had started to stick their heads out of one of those little holes.
The soldiers come out to plug the hole and defend the colony. They'll plug any hole into the colony that shows up, and as you see right now, they're biting on my finger.
They're pretty active.
Yeah, oh, they're trying to do things.
They would come from this area here.
Well, actually, a lot of them came up from underneath the washing machine.
Yeah, from underneath. They came from everywhere. They came, you know, all in this area here. I remember seeing them crawling out of this wall over here.
The Shimp family moved to New Orleans 3 years ago. This was their dream home. But the house had a dark secret, and now their dream home is disintegrating around them.
He would call me at work and he's like, you know, they're swarming again, and I would just sit there and cry, you know, and one day I was sitting in the back and I was in tears because I knew my house was being eaten and there was really nothing I could do about it.
Ignorance about termites is no longer acceptable. These bugs have made it into the primary school curriculum.
When do termites become a problem?
When they get inside your house.
Right, and one termite doesn't eat very much, so when is it going to be a problem? When there's what?
There's a lot of them.
Right.
Like 5 million.
And one of the other ladies from work came walking by and she's like, "What's wrong?" And I explained it to her. She started crying with me. I was just so disgusted and just so, like, I felt helpless.
The scale of the problem is enormous. This is the queen, the womb of the organism. A pulsating bag of eggs that can produce up to 1,000 new termites a day. But if you have the time and the money, there is a way to stop the destruction. The house is wrapped up like a patient with an infectious disease. The termite, like the ant, is a superorganism. To destroy it, every member of the colony must die. The only sure method is to gas them. The deadly vapor may kill in seconds, but it needs 24 hours to seep into all their hiding places. It's a massive effort to kill such tiny creatures, but for this house at least, the battle has been won. We have grand dreams of creating a world free of bugs. But when occasionally we succeed, we realize we need bugs. These massive modern farms are an example. The blossoming crops need to be pollinated, and there's nothing here to do it. Farmers must call on a motorized cavalry. Domesticated honeybees are being driven around America to do the work wild bees are too rare to do. In this truck, there are 24 million professional pollinators. Each hive can make over 10 million flower visits in a day. The secret to this efficiency is communication. These dancing bodies are a bee language. They translate something like this. Our reward in this relationship is $15 billion in agricultural revenue. The bees' reward is nectar. Back in the hive, they regurgitate the sugary solution and dehydrate it. The end result is honey. Honey is regurgitated bee spit. It takes 4.5 million flower visits to make a pound of honey. That's the equivalent of a bee flying around the world 4 times to collect a single jar. Man's relationship with bees dates back to the Stone Age, but in 1957, it all went wrong. A killer was set loose on the Americas.
A maniacal killer breeds a strain of giant bees that can kill a human being on command.
In an attempt to produce more honey, we made this beast for real. Scientists crossed the aggressive African bee with the docile honeybee and created a monster. A superorganism with wings and stings. The killer bee has proved impossible to control, and they're spreading faster and further than expected. Dave Rubik has been tracking killer bees as they spread across the United States at 250 kilometers a year. To get a sample from a wild hive in Arizona, he must penetrate the bug world's ultimate defense system.
When an angry bee finally stings, it's the beginning of the war. These bees can turn into something that's really a nightmare. Doesn't always happen. I hope we're not going to see it happen today, but we have to have a lot of respect for these animals. Potentially, every hive of bees deadly.
If just one bee releases an alarm pheromone into the air, then the entire hive will attack.
The good thing is we're downwind, and the first thing they would notice would be a smell. That's a signal it may be a predator. Nobody's stung me yet. They're not going to sting until I get much closer. Look at that. Buzzing around, looking, checking out my backpack. Just don't sting. If any bee stings, it releases a pheromone in the air. It can attract other bees within 200 feet from the nest. They can be a serious contender for anything as big as an ox.
With years of practice, Dave knows how to read the danger signs and can get closer than anyone else would dare without a bee suit.
Look at that. These flight paths are amazing. They don't deviate even if they knew the net were there. They just keep going the same path they've taken. Okay, I've got a couple bees in the net. I'm going to back off and then take my sample. There's a bee in my face. That's what I didn't want. That's good. It's only one bee. Now, these are the bees that I really don't want to get the alarm pheromone going. Cyanide gas in here knocks the bees down right away. And you can see, by themselves, they don't do much at all, but these things are at least as deadly as any poisonous snake you'll run into on the desert, with a striking range of 100 feet.
There is no way to stop this invasion, and they are not confined to the desert.
In the United States, at least in the South, we're going to have to know how to live with honeybees from Africa. They found everything they need here to survive. No competitors, no serious predators, and they're here to stay.
So what's it like to be attacked by killer bees? From the safety of a thick bee suit, Dave can show us how bees become mass killers. This is one of Dave Rubik's more dangerous demonstrations. By upsetting just one bee, he will push the bug world's nuclear red button. Within minutes, up to 20,000 bees can be called to the attack.
This colony was so docile before this got started, but they keep coming because the alarm pheromone drives more of them out to do this. 1 bee, then 2 bees, then 10 bees, then 50. And now there are 3 more that just stung me on the arm.
You have to wonder what people do when they don't have bee suits. Well, I've seen it a few times, and it's very disturbing. A horse rolling on the ground with these bees just releases more and more sting, odor in the air, and a horse would be stung to death in about a half hour. This is why this is a superorganism, united around the colony cause to defend itself as fast as possible with as many stinging bees as they can get in the air in a hurry, like now. Hold on, I got a bee on the inside. It starts to throb after about 50 bees have stung in the same area. I'm getting them inside here, so I think I'm gonna have to bail out. Okay. These bees are angry. What did we do? We didn't do anything. One little bee was squished, and this is what happened. I can't believe it.
It was our ignorance that created the killer bee. It's clear we just don't know enough about the bug world. Recently, one man's work showed us that we know even less than we thought. Terry Irwin entered the Amazon jungle with a new collection technique. This work could shatter all previous ideas about how many insect species are really out there. We've been collecting and identifying insects for hundreds of years, trying to keep track of what we're up against. It appears we've only been scratching the surface. Terry's insecticide fogger reaches places inhabited by animals no human has ever seen before.
The incredible thing is every single day that we fog, we get hundreds of new species that we haven't seen before. Even though we fogged a lot, we're finding new stuff, discovery.
What Terry is discovering is the sheer scale of our ignorance. 20 years ago, we thought there were about 2 million more species of bugs left to discover. But according to this study, there are more like 29 million.
When you look at the ratio of this group of animals to everything else, including us, all the mammals and plants and so forth. And if you use my estimation that there's 30 million species on the planet, then the ratio is 97% to the insects and their relatives and 3% to everything else.
An estimated 29 million species of bug yet to be discovered could be viewed as a horrifying prospect. But to assume all insects are a problem to us would be a mistake. Most have other roles to play. A new look at the bug world could reveal not just pests and invaders. Insects might even be recruited as allies. At Fire Ant Control, they may have found a new use for just one small member of the insect legions. This tiny fly can be used as the biological equivalent of a guided missile. The flies have been imported from South America and are being tested in a kind of fire ant hell. Small ant colonies nest in the dark under black cups. But every 15 minutes, the cups lift up. Somewhere else, another cup drops down. The exposed ants are desperate to move their brood into the other cup. But there are flies patrolling the space between, selecting their targets. If fear had any meaning in the insect world, then these ants would be afraid, and with good reason. With each strike, the fly fires an egg into the ant's body. The egg turns into a maggot and eats its way into the ant's head. After the maggot has finished eating the ant's brain, the next generation of body snatchers emerge. Soon, the flies may be controlling fire ants more successfully than the human exterminators. Understanding the power of insects is nothing new. To the Egyptians, the dung beetle was a god that rolled the sun across the sky. They sensed that in some way, bugs make the world go round. In the 1800s, European settlers to Australia learned the importance of this beetle. They imported cows to a land without the right kind of dung beetles. The cows produced dung, and the dung covered Australia at the rate of 12 million cowpats an hour. The economy, the ecology, and the colony were all threatened. In 1966, someone spotted the missing link, and the right beetles were sent to Australia. They went forth and multiplied. In just a few years, beetles were burying pats as fast as the cows were dropping them. To humans, it was a miracle. To the beetles, it was a simple, everyday life of rolling dung and stopping anyone else from stealing your ball. The dung is a precious underground survival capsule. With an egg laid deep into its core, the ball is baby food for the next generation. In 1995, the beetles hit the headlines again.
We rolling? Yep. Good. Oh, hi. All right. Australians are one of the largest pet-owning populations in the world. Over 60% of all households in Australia actually
Dog litter is a problem with over 100 tonnes produced in Sydney each day.
Another poo problem has been brewing in Sydney. The citizens are finding it hard to ignore. Dog droppings are taking over the city, and it's big news.
No one likes stepping in someone else's dog's poo. It stinks. You take it on your carpet, it's everywhere, and it's yucky to clean off shoes.
It's the funniest thing. People complain more about dogs than about the big issues. It's the little issues that seem to affect local government.
Often when you're swimming in the water, you could be sharing it with dog poo.
Which is why these ladies are earning the undying gratitude of an entire city. They started a beetle relocation program, and now dog droppings are disappearing in hours rather than weeks. All of this has made the dung beetle one of Australia's more welcome immigrants. The essential services that insects provide go beyond recycling. They've found their way into law enforcement. It's called forensic entomology, and it's based on reading the procession of insects that arrive at a corpse. Flies are the first to sniff out death. They lay eggs which hatch into hungry maggots, and they begin to dismantle the body in a very specific way. But this process varies between species. At this 2-acre lot in Tennessee, studies are revealing how insects break down the human body. Anthropologist Bill Bass set up the body farm. There's no other place like it in the world.
This body has been here a couple of weeks. You can tell this because most of the maggots have left the body. You can see down here on the arm where they have eaten a hole, where they've come and gone. And maggots don't like sunlight, so what the maggots will do is they'll leave the skin as an umbrella. So all the internal organs have been eaten away. That's just like leather right there, just like your shoe.
Here, studies show how the age of the maggots and other bugs found on a body can tell you when and even how death occurred. If you know how to read them, the insects can tell the story of a murder.
The blowflies are attracted to the orifices of the body. The eyes, the nose, the mouth, any wound in the body. If the right hand was down to bone, the left hand still had tissue on it like it does there, then that's when you want to, as a law enforcement officer, you want to be very careful, because that's an indication that what you have is that individual was stabbed or cut so that the flies are attracted to that opening in the skin.
This macabre work is vital research for the police and the FBI.
I testify in court which criminals have been convicted based upon the evidence supplied by the insects. And really what I'm doing is using the research from the body farm, speaking for the insects and what they tell us about how long that individual's been there.
This work relies on a constant supply of bodies. Surprisingly, people actually donate their bodies to this project. But then it's the only place in the United States where your body can return to the earth as nature intended.
We buried bodies, we put them in automobiles, we put them in trunks of cars, we put them in water, with clothing, no clothing, shade, sun. And most people ask you, how can you do this? It smells so bad. I have a very poor sense of smell.
In an ironic twist, an understanding of the maggot's love of decaying flesh is now being turned to help people cheat death. Brian McCartney lost his toes due to poor circulation, and now the wound won't heal. Wounds like this get smothered in their own infected flesh. Certain maggots only eat dead flesh.
Patients don't actually have to see them, but the staff have to handle them, which not everybody likes to do, and I think you can understand that some women are fairly squeamish. But for the patient, they don't really mind as long as it's going to work and it's not going to be too painful. When you give an explanation to the patient what you're going to use, pretty horrified at first at the thoughts of using live insects on their body.
I've tried bandages, for different types of bandages, and I'm just fed up, and I said to myself, I'll try the maggots.
Brian has tried everything. The wound on his foot will simply not heal. The maggots are his last hope. And these aren't any old maggots. They have a pedigree. They come from a laboratory in Wales where flies have been trapped into reproductive slavery, a life of captive luxury. They're given everything a fly could want, a diet of pure sugar and a supply of prime liver for egg laying. These are the cleanest flies in the world. Their offspring will succeed where our modern medicine has failed. It takes just 3 days for the maggots to work their magic.
So you didn't have any nasty, painful sensations or anything last time?
No, just like normally this now.
Brian, that isn't pulling too much, is it?
No.
Oh, wow. You're going to be really pleased when you see this wound. It's absolutely lovely. You've done a really good job.
For the first time, Brian's wound is starting to heal.
These poor things have been on here for 3 days. They've worked really hard, and I'm going to throw them away. Feel like rewarding them with a good feed.
Our new desire to create partnerships with bugs seems to know no bounds. All over the world, technology is being mobilized to harness this newfound power. In Germany, the continuing dialogue between man and bee is being taken to a new level. Here, they're tapping into the secrets of their complex language by using tiny radar-transmitting backpacks. Elsewhere, scientists are even trying to use the bees' detection systems to track down landmines. And in the ultimate U-turn, our biblical enemy, the locust, is being turned from the dark side. This locust isn't just watching Star Wars for fun.
The locust is immobilized here in a little seat, which is quite comfortable, a little plasticine seat. And we are able to use a very fine wire here, and we can pick up little bursts of electrical activity which is conducted along the wire to a screen here. And we can monitor which features of the visual image.
Claire Rind at Newcastle University realised that the locust reacts to the near collisions on film as if they were other locusts in a swarm.
And it's at those shots where the neuron fires at incredibly high rates. It tells the locust that it's time not to be there. We think that the spaceships could represent two things. They could either represent a bird rocketing down and about to eat the locust. The other thing that could represent is another locust. These animals fly in great swarms, and they each hold their station about 30 centimetres away from the neighbouring locust, and they have to avoid collisions in those swarms.
Collision avoidance in mass transport systems could result from these studies on the locust brain.
If it could fly the plane, I think there would be certain circumstances where you'd rather have a locust pilot than a human one. But I think when the time comes to sort of get out of the plane, the locust would be interested in the field of grass rather than going home to mum.
The beauty of insects is their design simplicity.
Insects are an amazing source of ideas because they do it with a very small brain. If you want to copy something, you may as well copy the simplest system which does the task. It's very good at collision avoidance. And those rapid reactions would be ideal for collision avoidance systems in cars or in robots.
At the University of California, there are robots wandering the Berkeley campus. This is one of the most versatile robots ever, and its design is entirely based on bugs. Bob Full is obsessed with the bug's 400-million-year-old method of locomotion.
The result of this research is Rex, the robot hexapod. It's a six-legged robot that is remarkably simple to control with this radio controller, yet it's highly maneuverable. It can go over rough terrain or through a forest, over desert, sand, even upstairs. And this work has been inspired from the simple studies that we did on insects to extract the general principles of how they move to make this remarkable robot.
This is no toy. Rex is undergoing trials to be the first insect on Mars. The dream doesn't end with a robot having a bug's brain and a bug's body. Size is everything.
One of the next steps is to take Rex and shrink it down and get to the small scale, and nothing is known at that scale in terms of how animals move or how robots function. So we want to study animals at this small size because the world changes. It gets really sticky at this size level, yet we know animals like ants move beautifully well, and we hope to use the discoveries there to inspire small micro-robots of the future.
Then, instead of cockroaches messing up your kitchen, robots based on cockroaches will clean it up for you. The flip side is that tiny robots could become the pests of the future, equipped to spy on us in our homes. However, the future is still a long way off. It's easy to get carried away in the bizarre realm of the insect. We can get lost in the excitement of their huge potential. It's easy to forget whose world we're living in. Fire ants are a reminder. They've taken an interest in our technology.
Fire ants often get into electrical circuitry, causing all kind of problems. For whatever reason, they like to come into these things like air conditioner units or outdoor circuit boxes, traffic lights, televisions. They've even been known to cause the shutdown of some major airports. When they short out these electrical circuits, some kind of alarm pheromones are released and other ants come pouring in there, making the problem much worse. They can even make a traffic light short out and cause a wreck out in the intersection. In Florida, they say that if you have a car wreck, the fire ants will get to you before emergency services do.
Time and time again, we're reminded that we're living in a bug's world. But we've begun to realize that living with bugs doesn't have to be all bad. We are starting to appreciate the essential roles they play, no matter how ghastly. We may want nothing to do with these alien life forms, but we can never get rid of them. In New Orleans, despite the multi-million-dollar eradication campaign, the termites are back. On a warm night in May, each surviving queen can send out 1 million reproductive termites. Each pair is ready to start a new colony. Each is looking for a new home. And the problem starts all over again. It's frightening for us to accept how powerless we are against these tiny invaders. And when they take an interest in our bodies as well as our homes, the story only gets scarier.
I've been in places where there's just millions of them, like a horror movie.